Alrighty, welcome back to my FunctionOfSpeed channel YouTube. This is my update of where I'm at with the GSX-R 600 track bike. Since the last video, I got the chain riveted back on, the rear wheel back on, everything torqued down, and happy. I had a whole time-lapse video of that, but I'm not very good with the video editing yet, so it's taking too long to get that out, so I'm like, whatever. We'll skip the chronology of the whole thing and just, here's an update. So at the end of my time-lapse video, I was attempting to put my front sprocket cover back on. That's right here, that's the guy that actually operates the clutch also. So there's a lot of pressure on that cover. Needless to say, my little threaded repair that I did, I think I showed you a little bit previously, tried to weld the threaded boss back together more or less and then re-drill and tap it. Well, it didn't hold any torque whatsoever. That had broken when the last guy had broken the chain, you know, lack of chain maintenance. So anyway, yeah, there's the clutch pushrod seal that I'd shown you previously that I had to completely separate the engine cases to replace. There's a new clutch pushrod, and yeah, that's right, since I'd pulled out the threads on this little aluminum jobby, I have since drilled and tapped it with one of these little fix-a-thread kits, just like the helicoil kits from Ace Hardware. I've already had it back together and it works great. It's hard to believe, but it works, so be it. Anyhow, oh, okay, so last time when I put this together last night, I had it bolting it together and it's getting a lot of tension on it, and I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. I figured out that it was actually opening the clutch, or releasing the clutch slightly after I got it all bolted together. So I had all these notions of, oh, my clutch push rod's too long, you know, just one of those, like, oh, there's something wrong, something wrong. Well, it turns out that on the front cover here, front sprocket cover, there's this little adjustment that adjusts the release mechanism for the clutch. See that little gold nut and threaded stud? That adjusts where the clutch push, I don't know what the hell you want to call that. It's a little actuator here. That adjusts where the seat of that thing sits inside. So basically, as your clutch wears, this rod more or less moves its way out. And since this used to be a stunt bike before, we could say this clutch is pretty well, I hope it's not shot. I don't know, I've never heard it. Haven't heard it run yet, so we'll find out. So I really had to back the adjuster out on my clutch cover, front sprocket cover. So what I'm going to try and do here is to get this all back together for you. I'll see if I can get a good angle of this, because my little machined aluminum skeleton cover for my GoPro here, so I could use my mount, that hasn't come in. Yay, China. That was an eBay purchase, 65 bucks. Still haven't seen it. Probably about 3 months now. I'll probably receive it in another 6 or 8 months, you know, after I thoroughly forgotten about it. So I'll try and get you a good angle. I'll show it going back together. I'll try and go through how the best way to adjust the clutch lever and clutch release, all that jazz. So cool. I hope you sit back and enjoy. Hopefully this goes smoothly. Alright. Maybe. How we're going to go with that. Don't forget the grease on the push rod. Still have some of the aluminum from when I pulled the threads out. That's not good. all 4 of these bolts, well, there are 2 different length bolts for all 4 of these bolts in this cover. The long ones straddle the clutch push rod actuator, and the 2 other short ones are the upper and lowermost bolts. Pretty obvious when you stop and look at the cover, so. I do have the torque spec somewhere, but I don't know where the hell I put it. Alright, so what I was reading with the to adjust your push rod actuator, you're supposed to run the stud in until you make contact with the push rod. If you think I'm there, you feel it get tight, and you can actually be able to see this the cylinder move slightly. And instead, back it out 1/4 or 3/8 of a turn. There we go. So, alright, let's see if, oops. Alright. Tell my clutch is not being released right now. I'm still recording, yeah. Because I'm not able to turn the tire. This is actually how I figured out I had a problem before. Just trying to hook up my shifter linkage. Figured out I was able to turn my rear tire while the bike was in gear. So it's like, okay, there's a problem. Alright, so we got this little actuator we have adjusted within spec. Now we just have to take up the slack in the cable. Got 2 major adjustments. Got this adjustment down here on the clutch cover, which is, think of it as your coarse adjustment. We've got the fine adjustment up here at the top. This is the one that you're going to be adjusting on the fly while you're on the track and all that jazz. So right now we can see how much got a little bit of slack. Oops, sorry, you see that lever there? That's all the slack I've got in this at the moment. So I want to go ahead and get my fine adjustment kind of right in the middle. One thing you always want to check is, where is it maximized? Oh. See how it's a lot looser now when I turn left? It says alright, so we're going to adjust it with the bars at full right. That means we don't want it accidentally actuating the clutch when you're at full right. So since I have slack, I need to lengthen the tube to take up some of that slack. So I'm going to screw this lower adjuster out. You see, we're taking up some of that slack. Got to keep going. Alright, I can feel it starting to pull some tension now. Still need more. Ah, there we go. We're getting close. And see how pulling tension there, we're starting to... Well, that feels mushy as shit. Alright. I'm thinking I actually need a little bit more on my push rod. So I'm going to run all this shit back in. Good Lord. Alright, one more time. So, we're at full loosey-goosey again. So I've got a lot of slack I gotta take up. A lot of slack. Oops, wrong way. We're getting a lot closer now. Not sure how long that stud is. Alright, there I can feel the, that's where the clutch is getting ready to release. Oh yeah, we're getting there. I'm gonna keep going with this guy. Oh yeah. So now, I feel I'm pulling a little bit of slack out of it right as I load the lever, and now that's on the clutch there. Let's see if versus clutch. Oh yeah. Cool. Alrighty. So I hope I did an alright job explaining that. So there's this jam nut to lock your lower cable adjust in position. Takes a 10 and a 12 millimeter wrench. So that's just a jam nut. I use those a lot on these Japanese bikes, so you'll see a lot of people grab a hold of this upper nut and just start going for it, trying to crank it down, crank it up. What that's doing is putting a lot of tension on these threads down in here, and you'll quickly destroy your aluminum threads. So you got to release the jam nut, then feel free to adjust this as you need, and then lock your jam nut back down. Same thing with the little push rod nut. Now you got to break the jam nut loose, run the threaded rod in and out to get it wherever you need it to get, then lock the jam nut down again. One quick comment, I also got the throttle together. Very similar situation as the clutch, except the throttle on these bikes actually uses 2 cables. So it's driving the throttle open and pulling it closed, versus driving it open and having a spring return it. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, still has springs to force them closed, but yeah, open and closed on these bikes. I've already got this one in adjustment, you know, have a snap back, but not a, you see there's a little bit of play in it, but you do want that play, because look here at full right, see how much less play there is now, but still snappy. If I were to have gone for the perfect throttle as the bars point straight, here's the problem with that. There you go. Oh, it feels good, but as soon as you crank it full right, it's starting to get sticky, starting to slow down. This is a situation where you can end up turning the bars to full right, and it slightly opens up the throttle, and you'll hear people hear them turn the bars, and the motor starts to rev up. That's how you know they've misadjusted their throttle cables. That's about it, guys. I mean, little update for you. Hope maybe it taught something with the clutch shenanigans on these bikes. At least the GSX-Rs. But cool. I'll get you guys on the next one. See what kind of trouble we get into.